Back up. Hey, yo, whoop, whoop. It's your boy, not Killer J. It's just Joshua the Murderer, as cloned by Miss Cheese House. And welcome to another edition of Whoops Up, Whoops Down, the Juggalo Movie Podcast, or whatever the fuck I want to call it today. Today, folks, we got kind of like a dual review. We're going to be talking about Spike Lee's newest film, Highest to Lowest, but we're also going to talk about the Kurosawa film that it was a remake of High to Low. So I think it's good to talk about both those films together because they're kind of a remake and stuff like that. And we're also going to be talking with another about another film that most of you know. It's celebrating its 20th anniversary. We're going to talk about the Judd Apatow's first film, The 40-Year-Old Virgin. It's celebrating its 20th anniversary, and we're going to have somebody here to talk about that film with me, who introduced that film to me 20 years ago. So it only feels fitting that we talk about that. So let's get to the discussion of 40-Year-Old Virgin. Let's bring on my guest. You know this person. It is my OG. It's my mother.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop. We're back again. Already come back with a second time.
Yeah, second time.
Second time. So 20 years ago, when I was 12 years old, you introduced me to the 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yes. Yes, I did.
Why? Because you rented it. You rented it at a family video. So you were like, here, son, a 12-year-old, let's watch this movie called 40-Year-Old Virgin.
I have no clue. Maybe because it was comedy and it was up the line of what you liked. I don't know.
I mean,
it seems like I was a bad mom, but you know.
I don't know if you were a bad mom. I mean, it's a super sexual film, and you're just like, this is appropriate for my 12-year-old. I mean, at that time, I would say that the pivotal point of that year is when I was starting to really get into movies like really hardcore at this time. 12 years old is when I started watching The Godfather, Scarface, and then 40-Year-Old Virgin. So I don't know if those are in the same tiers, but I started getting into movies heavy, and I think that's at that time is when I started taking movies seriously. And we watched it together at that point. And I think that's when you coined the term "my stupid movies." I think it's when we first watched that movie. It's just one of Josh's stupid movies.
Yep, along with Step Brothers and Pineapple Express. Yeah.
Well, I mean, those kind of stuff. The Superbad was on there too.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So like Judd Apatow, like that was like the first one, and then they bred into Knocked Up. Knocked Up was another one we watched a lot around that time. So I thought it would be appropriate, since it's celebrating its 20th anniversary, that we would watch it again and see how we felt about it. I haven't watched 40-Year-Old Virgin in I can't remember the last time I saw 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yeah, it's been years.
It's been years. I can still quote it. I can still remember the movies. Like, it's one of those movies I've watched so much of that I don't ever need to see it again. And I think with comedies, they're so subjective. So it's kind of like, is there my viewing in this time is like seeing if the humor still hold up. Like, we're 20 years away from this movie. This is like me thinking like that's a big gap. That's like saying like, hey, watching something from the 70s and the 90s. Like, that's in films, that's like two different. You could feel the difference between a 90s film and a 70s film. So watching something from the early aughts to now, does things hold up? Are there some cringe moments? I would say there's some. I'll get to my thoughts. But let's get to my mom's thought first. All right. So you sitting down and watching 40-Year-Old Virgin. What was your thoughts this viewing after not seeing it for a long time?
Well, actually, I hadn't seen it in so long that I forgot even what it was about. So it was kind of like watching it again for the first time.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And what's your thoughts?
It's one of your stupid old movies, that's for sure.
I don't even know what you call it, my stupid old movies. I don't even watch movies like that anymore. I don't even know if they're.
Yeah, but I will always category on them that way.
I mean, that's true. You would.
Because I brought you Step Brothers too, and I regretted that one.
Yeah, Step Brothers is the one I watched a ton.
Yes, every day, it seemed like.
Well, it was weekends. It was like I came over for weekends and I see and I would put that on because it was so funny to me. I think it was one of those movies that made me cry. So me, I think what really makes the film worth watching still, or still has that charm in it, is Steve Carell as Andy. I think the storyline of him being a virgin and him finding love, it's very, it's very typical at this time, that, oh, he saved it for marriage, so he's one of the good ones. Like I find him very charming, Steve Carell as Andy. It's his friends, quote unquote, who I kind of had a problem with in the movie. Just the way that they were acting and how they were treating women per se. I was kind of like, eek. But the fact that Andy does it in his own way and finds true love in his own way, the way he finds Trish is through his own ways and the way in his own bravery, not from his friends. Like, yeah, his friends try to help him get laid, but it's Andy's confidence. It's Andy taking that own step for himself to get the love, to get to finally have sex, and he doing it in the way that he wanted. I mean, he easily could have had slept with a prostitute. He easily could have banged drunk broads or whatever, like his friends were trying to get him to do. But he kept being himself, and I think that's what's endearing to the film, is that heart. I think without that heart, I think it would feel kind of like Porky's.
Hey, now that was one of my favorites back in the day.
Okay, Mom, the beginning of the movie has the boys peeping Tomming the girls' bathroom as they showered.
Yes.
That's not okay.
Well, no, but that was back in my day.
Right.
Porky's was real big.
I know. And then the thing
I will still watch them today.
Revenge of the Nerds has a rape scene.
Yes, the Revenge of the Nerds, yes.
Well, there's a full-on rape scene. Did you know that? One of the nerds pretends to be one of these girls' boyfriends, and she thinks she's having sex with one of her boyfriend, but she's actually sleeping with the nerd.
I don't remember that scene.
Yes.
It's so long since I've seen that, but I like those too.
So, I mean, as comedies, I mean, it's subjective, and like it's gonna, that's the thing about why I don't think there has been a great comedy recently, is like they're hard to do. And they're hard to they're hard to do because it's so subjective. You don't know what's funny. You like, as you're writing the film, you have to like predict what's going to be funny. And I think what the Judd Apatow model is like he had people that could do improvs, who can just throw out lines. And I think back in the day that was funny, but honestly, some of the stuff that was improv today doesn't really hold up. Like, I didn't really find Seth Rogen that funny in this film as I thought he was. Same with Paul Rudd. Like, it wasn't as funny. Like, a lot of the funny bits came from Andy, from Steve Carell, from the heart and the humor, and him just being a virgin and him just not knowing what to do in these situations versus what they were saying. Any other thoughts?
No, that is just as funny today as it was back when it first came out.
I can't believe it's only been 20 years.
Okay, so what I thought was really funny about that is the condom scene.
Yes.
Where he has them condoms everywhere but on his dick. He has them on his feet, his arms. He didn't know what to do with it, and that was funny. I
think my favorite one is that he blows it up like a balloon, thinking like if he keeps it as a balloon, he can put it on his dick and he can just like clomp it, but it's like pops. It's just like, wow. And just seeing like a lot of actors that are like were in The Office at the time or in Judd Apatow stuff, and where they would go from there. You're just like, wow, like it's technically 40 Virgins is Seth Rogen's first film, but he was in Anchorman the year prior, but he was a background character. This is his first like starring, like mid-starring role, and then he would do Knocked Up next from that role, from 40 Virgins. So it's nice to see that. Paul Rudd, he's been in stuff, but it's kind of like the Paul Rudd we know now. It's like in this one. Steve Carell is the one that deserved to be the big star after this. Like after this, Steve Carell was a household name. Like,
Really?
and that made The Office even more popular because of the 40-year-old virgin.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I like that scene because I imagine boys, when they're wanting to have sex for the first time, have the same kind of issues with the condoms.
Well, I think that's because I don't think there's a good sex education when it comes to how to do all this stuff. Because I think when I think about my sex education when I was in, around this time period, I think maybe a little before, they just showed us a video about, and they just couldn't stop saying penis. And as like 11, 12-year-old boy, hearing the word penis like over and over again is kind of funny. So I don't think I really paid attention to that video. Really. I know the girls had a whole different talk about how their body's going to change.
Yeah.
Our talk was like, you're going to get hairier. You're going to get hair in places that you didn't think you were going to have hair. Things are going to happen to your penis. That's basically what we're told. So, I mean, the fact that, here's a man who's 40 years old who kind of tried to have sex and just kind of like avoid it a little bit.
Yeah.
And the way they collects, and I think the fact that he collected toys and he felt like in the box, that's kind of where he put himself in. He kind of treated himself like one of his action figures. Yeah. He kept himself in the box. Like the fact that having sex is opening and playing, right? So it's just like he didn't even masturbate. So it's just like, here's this guy who is his action figures. He keeps himself in a box because I think that's what he deserves.
And that he will be worth something like his action figures.
Well, I mean, yeah, in the movie it says $500,000.
Yeah.
He was sitting on $500,000. He was living.
Well, you're sitting on some too.
No, I'm not sitting on anything like worth $500,000.
You're sitting on some action figures.
They ain't worth nothing.
Comic books, baseball cards.
I don't know if they're worth anything. That's the thing. That's what that you gotta like. I have Pokemon cards. Those are worth something because they're the first and second generation. Those are the ones that are the one that want money. But I don't even know where to start when it comes to those. How I go about selling them because there's certain ways and Dragon Ball Z cards and stuff like that. Like it's kind of hard to do that stuff and knowing what's valuable.
You can relate to Andy,
except for that I'm not a 40-year-old virgin. I've had plenty of sex.
Right. But I would think that I gave you proper sex education.
Yes, you did. I would say 2 years prior of this movie coming out, that you already gave me a better sex education than what my school did. Which, I mean, I would say that some parents would want to have, who don't want the school to teach their kids about sex. It's the parents' duties, but sometimes the parents don't know how to have sex, to have that sex talk.
Because I even showed you a condom.
Correct.
I didn't show you how to put it on because, of course, I don't know how to put it on, but I guess you figured it out.
Sure. Let's go with that. All right. Mom, if you gave the 40-year-old virgin a rating, what would you give it? And the whoops up, whoops down. So you have whoops up, double whoops.
I would just give it a whoops up.
Double. Oh, just okay.
Yeah, just one. You don't get a double.
Yeah, I think
because it's a movie that I wouldn't necessarily care to watch again. It wouldn't, if I went searching through our DVDs, it wouldn't be like, yay, let's watch the 40-year-old virgin.
Yeah, so, I think the time for it has come and go. I don't know if I would be right. If it was in theaters, would I rush and see it in theaters? Maybe just say that I saw it in theaters because I think that's a different experience than watching it at home. The only time I've watched this movie is at a home theater. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would also just give 40-year-old virgin a whoops up. I mean, I think it's still, because of the Steve Carell, performance, the story of Andy still being a virgin and finding his love, while everybody around him is pressuring him to do this thing, and he sticks true to himself. He does not change. I mean, he doesn't. I would say he changes in a way that he needs to, but it's true to his character. He's not changing because people are making him change. He's changing because he needed that change. And in the end, which kind of gets kind of sappy when he tells Trish, maybe I was just waiting for you. Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
but it was an earned moment. It was an earned moment. I think there's a lot of good performances in the movie that I think if you've never watched the 40 Virgin, I think you'll have a good time. I think maybe some of the things that they're talking about will be shocking to you because they do talk about things and porn does get mentioned and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And then and it's interesting to see what technology was 20 years ago. A lot of flip phones, speed dating. Speed dating is now all social media. I don't, it's interesting to see if they could do a almost a remake of 40 Virgin, what that would look like.
And they're and what he was selling was the combo, the
VCR DVD combo, which
yeah.
actually would fucking hit right now because VCR tape collection is actually like what's what people are doing now. So having a DVD VCR combo, I'm like, man, kind of wish I had one of those.
Yeah, because we got some VCR tapes.
I would collect VCR tapes. I have old school Star Wars VCR tapes, and I would love to watch the original cut of Empire and Return of the Jedi, but I cannot because I don't have a VCR.
Well, maybe we should look for one.
Maybe it's called Goodwill thrift shopping. That's what it's going to come down to. All right,
Yep.
all right, Mom. Well, thank you for being on the show again.
Thank you for having me.
No, I think it's be great that we start off with this because the next film we'll be talking about, we're getting into the weeds here, and probably a film that you guys have never heard of, two films you never heard of, and we're going to go in deep into what I think. I'm trying to convince you guys to watch those two films. So,
And with spooky season, I would like him to do some spooky movies.
well, I mean, I probably wouldn't do that until October. That's when I start
Well,
doing
we're
my
getting
spooky
close
stuff.
to October.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
on the 20th.
yeah. We're on the 20th, but I mean, like, that's not October. That's when I do my spooky season.
Well, I've been into scary movies.
I know.
What? Michael Myers is my favorite.
Of course. I actually had plans to do something for the spooky season, but I kind of, because of the whole thing that happened this summer, kind of derailed all that plan. So I had to figure out what I want to do about that. But thank you again, Mom.
You're welcome.
Whoop,
Whoop
whoop.
whoop.
Whoop, whoop. And that would be nice. You're just making a mess over there.
I didn't do that. Your cat did.
All right, so the next film we're going to be talking about comes from the auteur director Spike Lee. I've watched not all Spike Lee films. I've watched plenty of Spike Lee films. I think he is a very good. I think he's a really good director. I think he does a really good job with finding his voice and using his point of view to get his point across in his films. Do the Right Thing is probably one of the greatest films made of all time. It's a movie that I will eventually be able to talk about. In 2017, I thought his film, The Black Klansman, was the best film that year over The Green Book. But he did win an Oscar for adapted screenplay, I believe. So good for that Spike Lee to at least get an Oscar, but he should have won an Oscar for Best Picture and Best Film. That film is really good. Hopefully I can talk about it one day. Especially because it came out at a time where that political rhetoric and chart. I mean, we're still feeling that up today, but I think that one captured the feeling of what's going on and introduced me to Denzel Washington's son and him and Adam Driver really did a really good job in that film. So Black Klansman is something to you should watch. But highest to lowest is Denzel Washington and Spike Lee's team up. This is the first time that these guys made a film since Malcolm X. So Malcolm X is another film I need to see from Spike Lee. Has Denzel Washington as Malcolm X. I think that is would be electrifying to watch. But highest to lowest is actually a remake, an American remake from a 1963 film by Akira Kurosawa. You've heard that name before. If you watched the Seven Samurai episode, Kurosawa made a film called High to Low in 1963 based on a book called King's Ransom. So this is actually from the original source was King's Ransom. But I watched both these films because Highest to Lowest is actually, I would say, almost like a pseudo sequel, or a, like, instead of like being a total remake, like what Spike Lee does is make it more like he takes the template from High to Low and makes it Highest to Lowest into something that feels more authentic to himself. And a film that I am excited to talk about, because I think there's a lot of themes in there that are being dealt with in a certain community and stuff like that, that has been talked about before. Um, so the what I think what really makes the film really good, Highest to Lowest, is the Denzel Washington performance, and oh, and I forget the other guy's name. So I've actually heard about this film a while. There's a while where it's like, uh, Spike Lee's making a Kurosawa remake and stuff like that. And I remember I never seen it, but I heard how not good it was. Spike Lee actually did a remake of Old Boy, a Korean film with Josh Brolin that people didn't even particularly care for. So, here's his other chance of Spike Lee doing another remake of an Asian property. But the thing about Kurosawa is that he takes so much of him from his filmmaking, his Japanese filmmaking, from American films like a Henry Ford, that I think that's a better way to remake the film. I would say, like, that's why I think Kurosawa samurai films were great for westerns and spaghetti westerns, because they kind of have that American feel to it already, just with the Japanese viewpoint and stuff like that. Where the Highest to Lowest, the Denzel Washington is playing David King, and his chauffeur friend, played by Jeffrey Wright. That the relationship is really fucking good. Um, it really, like, anytime, and Jeffrey Wright the whole time he's in this film is probably the best thing on the film. Sometimes, like I love Jeffrey Wright as an actor. He was the new Gordon in the Batman. I think he plays a great the Gordon. He plays the Watcher in the What If series for Marvel. Um, Jeffrey Wright was also in the Hunger Games as well. It's like he's a guy that if you see his face, you know him. He's a very fantastic actor. Um, but it's about a rich man who gets put in this dilemma where a kidnapper kidnaps a kid that's not the rich guy's kid, but way more of like the underling kid. And he has to make the decision: am I going to give the ransom for a kid that it's not mine, or do I keep it and keep my own business, keep my own money? So it's a lot. These two films, Highest to Lowest and High to Low, deal a lot with capitalism, greed, how we view, and then the viewpoint of High to Low. Highest to Lowest is how we look from like the rich people high up to the lowest, the dirt poor people to the lowest, and how, like, where Denzel Washington is a music producer, like in the music business, and he, you know, was supposed to be like the greatest ear of all time. Like, he's supposed to be this guy who's really into the music business, but that's all he cares about. Like, in the first part of the film, it's more like he is so wrapped up into the music business, like he doesn't care about anything around him. Like, when people are telling him just pay the ransom, and he's trying to wiggle his way around not paying the ransom to get what he wants with the money that he was going to use for it. He did not want to use it for anything else but for him, because he's making a play for his life, make a move to better his life, to maybe make more money, even though everybody around him is telling you need to retire. Like Denzel Washington in his 60s, and like he already has like a son that's in high school, and he has a wife that's probably in her 40s, 50s, and like it's like he's done it all. Like, what's there more for him to do? And it's almost like how older people don't know when to stop, right? They don't know when to give it up and give it to the youth and move on with their life and find other projects to do. The reason why we don't have jobs or any like economical growth, because it's like you're not allowing the people from the low to come up. The people that are high are keeping people low. And there's a lot of shots that Spike Lee does with that plays with height. Um, Denzel Washington's character David King lives on a, a penthouse overshadowing New York. So every time you see his penthouse, you could see New York, and you can see like a bridge that goes into one of the islands and stuff like that. And there's talks about he gives money to charity and stuff like that. But when we go into uh, his old neighborhood, it's still run down, it's still poor. So it's like, what are you actually contributing to your neighborhood that makes it, what are you doing to improve that so you can help these people up? And Highest to Lowest is such a New York film. It feels like how the upper people in New York look down in the lower parts of New York, to the point where the lower people have to choose the act of violence or a crime to get the rich people's attention and being like, I need help. You need to give me that. You have all this money, give it to me, kind of thing. That's where the ASAP Rocky character comes out in there. A little bit of that. I don't think it's a perfect film. I actually prefer High to Low, more the Highest to Lowest. But there is the ending scene of Highest to Lowest between there's an ending scene with David King and this ASAP Rocky character, which I think is the most powerful scene in the film that really like, ooh, this is worth seeing for just this scene alone, and shows you why Denzel Washington is a great actor. And it kind of like what I love too is like it's not such a and the reason why I wanted to watch High to Low after watching Highest to Low is like where's the similarities at? And High to Low and Highest to Low is the only similarity truly is the plot of a kidnapper, just a kidnapping plot. That's the only difference, because High to Low, the movie changes midway, where we're following the detectives to find the kidnapper, and that actually is pretty funny because we actually go into a part of Japan that I didn't really think about. That Japan had like in that film, there's a heroin epidemic in Japan, and where the slums, where the ghetto and slums are at and stuff like that. And like when you think of Japan, you think of these hyper colors and stuff like that, where that's not what we're getting. You know, you know, the main character is living on this hill, and it's looking down on the slums, and one like the kidnapper is able to look up and see this penthouse that's like has air conditioning, that's all rich, and then he doesn't have that, and it's like that is driving him to make that person pay for the fact that he's rich, right? It's how what money and greed can do, and it can divide us when it comes to class, and it can almost make us feel like how much so much money can like dehumanize people, how we now look at humans lesser because they don't have money, kind of thing. And I think what the Highest to Lowest is more about is black capitalism, right? When people come, like, because Denzel Washington's character came from the slums, right, and he worked his way up, but he's not giving it up, or he's not sharing it or trying to empower his community that he came from, right? His son is going through a prep school, right? He's not he's only caring about himself and enriching himself, and trying to, many times Denzel Washington tries to appear strong, like I'm super masculine and stuff like that, but he comes out very weak because of his lack of compassion in the film. I think that was very key. The way that he's trying to demand respect about not wanting to pay the ransom, but he's coming out very weak because he's being selfish. I think he's talking about being a man and stuff like that. I think sometimes being a man is doing the right thing, even in High to Low. That guy is more of a shoemaker and stuff like that. He was trying to buy the shoemaking company so he can like do his own thing. But once he decides to do, like, he didn't want to do the give the money up because he wanted to buy the business, and there's repercussions when you did help and you got all the money scrubbed out. Actually, like, the public eye was like, you loved them, and they made the brand popular, but it's the business, the ruthlessness and cold-heartedness of the business, and the business aspect and capitalism that will cut you out. There is no loyalty when it comes to capitalism. There is not. You can be bought out, you can be kicked out, like, and you can stop making money, and then we'll take all your money if you owe them debts and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on in both these films that I think that if you give them time, that they could sit with you. Um, Especially when you think about Kurosawa, you think about the samurai films. But here's a film that's not a samurai film; it's more dealing with issues of that time of the 60s. But you're still like not less than 20 years away, like 20 years, what, 19, 18 years after the bomb being dropped in Japan, and still rebuilding from that, and then everything else. And you can feel that anxiety still. It's a film, but I would say high to low, the Kurosawa film gets a whoops up. Highest to lows, the new Spike Lee film also gets a whoops up. I think they're worth your time. I don't know necessarily you need to rush and see this. I don't think that highest to lowest is the best film I've seen this year. It's definitely in that mid tier. I think the issue I really had sometimes was the music, but there's a certain point where the music does work for me. There's certain time of the score which just kind of like it's just going and going and going. It kind of doesn't feel. It's an highest to lowest. I was able to see it in a theater, but it's an Apple original film, and it kind of feels like that. It feels like it was a little lower budget, a little bit, but I still think there's a lot of stuff going on in the film that I think it's worth your time. Especially the themes that are going on within it when it talks about capitalism, greed. What is it be like the manhood, being a man, and what it means to be a man. And high to low, I think the only issue I really have with high to low is it's 2 hours and 20 some minutes. It's a little long. It came out in the 60s, so the pacing is a lot different. So if you're not used to that pacing, it feels a lot slower. Because like editing is totally different. But I think a lot of the um performances in that movie was really good, and seeing how the detectives were working, and the fact that it didn't speed through it actually took its time to see, and kind of made it a point how hard it is to catch criminals, especially when it comes to kidnappers and before like technology happened. Like, and this one, um in highest to lowest, it also shows how differently the police will treat you if you have money. Like David King has money. He's black, but he has the money, so the cops are willing to work with him. Jeffrey Wright's character, Paul, was in the system before and doesn't have money, and the cops are being straight assholes to them. Even if it's his kids that got kidnapped, they don't want to deal with him. They were like even like threatening him, even assuming that he is the one that came up with the kidnapping. It's fascinating where the conspiracy and stuff like that it goes on. I think, like I said, it is worth your time. I would think you would be entertained with both if you're into that, crime drama and stuff like that, and just kind of a look at class issues. And I think a lot of what's going on with America has to deal with class issues. Like the division, to me, it's like they're trying to paint it as blue and red, but the real class issue is poor and rich. And it's whatever the rich are doing to create division between the poor people to keep them occupied and not paying attention to what's going on by the people with money, right? We are getting poorer while they're getting richer. Like that's what our focus should be on. We should be focused on more on class issues versus, who we voted for. Because back in the day, it used to be like you never talk about religion, you never talk about politics with somebody. And we need to go back to those days because that is what's driving us in fucking insane. So, yeah, those are the two films. I gave you two reviews. It kind of like I hope that made sense. It's a lot of back and forth when it comes to the two films. You could find High to Low on HBO Max. It's part of the Criterion Collection. Like I said, like watch it. It's really good. Highest to Lows you can find on Apple streaming. And check out other Spike Lee films. I think I will definitely go back, especially Malcolm X is probably on my list. There's other Spike Lee films. Bamboozled is on the list. And Spike Lee does sometimes do some of his film on like a low budget because he's self funded and stuff like that. And Kurosawa, like anytime I can get it, I can talk about Kurosawa. I think he is one of the greatest directors of all time, especially from a foreign from Japan. I mean, like a lot of directors, there's a lot of foreign directors that I'm gonna try to hook you guys up on. Lawrence von Trier is probably, if I ever get to the Seventh Seal. Seventh Seal is pretty badass. My favorite depiction of death is in that film. But anyways, I hope I can convince you to watch these films. But yeah, give it a whoops up. All right, next part, we're just gonna talk about something. This show is, Juggalo oriented and stuff like that. So I've been talking about how I got off of Apple Music. Like I'm no longer paying for a streaming service. So because of that, I have to collecting physical copies of stuff. And one of the things I knew I had to get, start collecting them is the first 6 Joker's cards. At one point I had them, and then they over time they got lost. So I got a couple finds here that I found that I'm willing to share some stories and stuff like that, and talk about a little about eBay and how I feel about eBay. So first one I got is the Great Malenko. I think this is the purple or pink boy. A little better. I've had the Great Malenko before, but I only had the green boy. So there's that. Which, I guess I didn't even tell you that the next card is going to be the Amazing Jekyll Brothers right there. I think you got all, and they tell you, but. So I got that. I think the price I got for this was pretty decent. That's why I got it. I think I like this version of how this Malenko looks. That's why I bought it. It was used, but the conditions were still pretty good. I mean, not a lot of scratches and stuff like that. And then the next thing I got was Riddlebox. Yes, celebrating its 30th anniversary. Riddlebox. I had this. One of my, my mom loved this CD growing up, so it's great to have this CD. And the great thing about this CD is I bought it still sealed. So the fact that it's still sealed, so it's almost brand fucking new, is fucking great. Love that. And yeah, I got this for another decent price. Like really, like I think I paid for like $14-15 for these. And then I was like, all right, once I got those two, the only thing if you look over there, so I already had Carnival Carnage, you got Ringmaster, then I have Hell's Pit over there. So I only had the first, the second, and one of the 6th. So I was like, all right, I'm looking through here. Wraith, man, it was hard to find the Wraith of Shangri-La. I mean, I saw some ridiculous pricing. So I was like, all right, let's just, keep buying as I can. And I bought, this, the Amazing Jekyll Brothers. I was like, oh, hell yeah. But then I was like, all right, opened it, and then I see this. The fuck is this? This is not the Amazing Jekyll Brothers CD. So basically, I bought the fucking case and not the fucking CD. So now I have to buy another version of the Amazing Jekyll Brothers just so I can get that the CD. I remember having this when I was like this Amazing Jekyll Brothers when I was a lot younger. Yeah, I remember, all this. All the tracks here. A little version of the comic book. Fuck them. Fuck them. Look at that. Yeah. So I did end up purchasing a Amazing Jackal about this. I ended up purchasing the Wraith of Shangri-La. That should come soon. I'll show you that off when I get that. And then I am in the process of getting uh, finally a version of the Amazing Jackal Brothers. But listen, I'm trying to hunt these CDs. There's some of these people who are selling these CDs for outrageous prices. It's fucking crazy. If you're not gonna fucking wanting these anymore, give them a decent price. Like, I understand you want to make your money back, but the fact that some of these CDs are fucking $100+ for a fucking used CD, get the fuck out of here, dude. Like, right? If it was, $40 for a sealed one, I understand that one, right? If it's been used, man, drop it down to like $15, $14. I mean, like, that's what it would be at a fucking thrift store or a used record store or whatever. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to buy it. Like, eBay is like the easiest way to access, finding these things. I know if I go to record stores, I might get lucky. I'm still gonna do that because there's other CDs I want to start collecting. I need my Wu-Tang collection. I need my 3 6 Mafia collection. I need my Tupac collection. Like, there's a lot of shit that I need to start buying again. Kendrick Lamar. I'm excited for that. Like, that's the thing I'm really excited for. But goddamn, man, some of these fucking prices is ridiculous. But that was a short show. Next week is a big week. No live stream on Friday. I will be up with the homies Team MUJ. We're gonna be doing a watch along for Blood In Blood Out. I don't know if we're gonna record the watch party or we're just gonna watch the film and then go over it. We might do that, so I might be bringing my equipment and stuff like that and have them be on it. Maybe have some guests on there as well, do a live stream out there. That'd be a lot of fun. So people out for that next week. That's probably why this show feels kind of light because I'm kind of holding back because we're getting a lot of stuff going on next week. In October, we'll see what that looks like. I am gonna be at the ICP show October 30th in Columbus. So if you see me out there, say what's up, give me a whoop whoop, throw down that whoops down, whoops up at me, whatever. We'll take a picture, whatever. But that's the show. I'm Joshua the Murderer. And this is Whoops Up, Whoops Down, the Juggalo Movie Podcast, or whatever the fuck I want to call it.